Hello guys, my topic is about services and service-oriented architecture, which comes under cloud application development. So my name is Nagasai Samant. So let us discuss about the S and SOA. So first of all, what is a service? So basically, service is a well-defined and self-contained function that represents a unit of functionality. So service can exchange the information from another service. It is not dependent on the state of another service. It usually loosely coupled messages-based communication model. So to communicate with application other services. So service-oriented architecture. Service-oriented architecture or SI is a design pattern which is designed to build distributed systems that deliver services to other applications to the protocol. So it is only a concept and not limited to any programming language or platform. So basically in SOA, which is mainly used in designing the distributed systems which having the deliver different services to other applications through the protocol. It is not limited to any platform or concept. So service consumer sends the service request to service provider, and the service provider sends the service response to the service consumer. The service connection is understandable to the both the service consumer and the service provider. So here see we can see that message consumer and message provider. We can see that both service consumer, basically a message consumer, sends a service request to the service provider. So and also vice versa, service provider sends the service response to the receiving the request from the consumer, and then providing the feedback or as a response to the service consumer. So which is connection both understandable between the consumer and service provider. So service-oriented architecture is a stage in the evaluation of application development or an integration. It defines a way to make a software components reusable using the interfaces. So formally, SOI is an architectural approach in which applications make use of services available in the network. So in this architecture, services are provided to form applications through a network. Call over the internet. It uses common communication standards to speed up and streamline the service integration in applications. So each service in SOA is a complete business function in itself. So the services are published in such a way that it makes that it easy for the developers to assemble their apps using those services. So note that the SOA is different from the microservice architecture. And also, SOA stage in the evaluation of application development or integration. So it defines a way to make a service component usable using the interfaces. The two major roles within the service-oriented architecture, the service provider is the maintainer of the service, the organization that makes available one or more services for others to use. So the advertised services, the provider can publish them in a registry together with the service contract that specifies the nature of the services. So how to use it, the requirements of the service and the fees charged. So the service consumer, with the mainly the service consumer can locate the services metadata in the registry. So they develop the required client components to the bind and use the service. You can see the provider the consumer to provider. Basically, whenever the consumer requests to the provider, then the provider grant the request as a response to the again same the consumer. Basically, see the consumer can locate service metadata in registry, and usable in developing the client components to bind and use the services. And also, whereas in service provider, he makes available one or more services for others to use. He can publish them in registry together with service contract that specify the nature of service. Service-oriented terminals. Here the services are the logical entities defined by one or more published interfaces. The service provider, it is a software entity that implements a service specification. Service consumer, it can be called as a requester or a client that calls a service provider. Service consumer can be another service or another end user application. Service locator is a service provider that acts as a registry. It is responsible for examining service provider interfaces and service locations. Service broker, it is a service provider that pass service request to one or more additional service providers. Service consumer, he requests or client that calls a service provider. A service consumer can be another service and end user location or application. Yeah, provider here, the service provider has a main goal to implement service specification. Characteristics of SOA. The services have the following characteristics. They're loosely coupled and support interoperability, the location transparent and self-contained. The quality of the service aspects of the policy, it represents a set of protocols according to which a service provider makes and provides the service to consumers. Security, it represents a set of protocols required for identification and authorization. Transaction, it provides unity of the consistent result. So this means if you use a group of services to complete a business function, so the either all the must complete or none of the complete. So the management, so it is defined the set of attributes. So manage to manage the services. So advantages of SOA service oriented architecture mainly having the following advantages. Basically, it is easy to integrate. First one. So basically, in a service oriented architecture, the integration is mainly service specification that provides implementation transparency is the main goal so that it is easy to integrate. So my second one is manage complexity. In managing the complexity during service specifications, so the complexity is get isolated and integration becomes more manageable. So platform independence, here the services are the platform independent. So as you can communicate with other applications through a common language, loosely coupling. So it facilitates the implement services without impacting the other applications or services. So basically, in loosely coupling means that also having the benefits having to implement the services of different applications without impacting on the other application, other services. So which is mainly having a better advantage in SOA. So doesn't another application doesn't interrupt during the services. And parallel development as SOA allows follows layer based architecture. It provides a parallel development and